When me and my sister were kids, me 8, she 4, my parents had the custom of hiding our gifts on Christmas and then distracting we both to pick them up and magically make it appear under the Christmas tree. Parent things. That year, they had brought a bike for each one of us, so 2 bikes to pick and move. They, as always, tried to distract us while they silently picked up the bikes to move to the room next to where the tree is. So next to 00H, it will be easier to move those huge things next to the tree instead of going to pick it up. I don't know where, probably on their bedroom, on the other side of the house. And yes, don't know if it's my family custom alone or if it's common practice in my country, Brazil, South America, to stay awake until 0H to give the gifts instead of going to sleep and find them by the morning. Now it's, I think, 6 p.m. We are in the living room, and my parents had asked us to look by the windows because Santa Claus will be passing through with his reindeers. And so, as the dumb kids who we are, we look through the windows to the street in hopes of seeing him. It was a dead-end street that we lived at the time. Our house was the last one before the street make a small square at the end for cars to maneuver and go back, with some more houses and a huge wall by the end that was part of a property on another street by the back that extended till here. We are watching anxiously when something caught the attention of both of us. A little man running from the start towards the end of the street, unaware of our gaze. It was short, half the size of a man or less, with a green robe and a pointed red hat. Essentially, the appearance you could describe a gnome or something along these lines. We asked each other if we both are seeing the same thing, and as we both confirm the vision, my little sister starts to cry out loud and call my parents. That starts to come back from the long corridor, leaving the bikes fall on the ground to see what has happened. While they are getting there, we look again and see a lot of those hats placed down the square area of the street like some sort of prank or something. That creep the hell out of my sister as my parents gets here. There's nothing more on the street, and my father goes outside to look for the strange man. This street, because of the scheduled location, had a huge rate of criminality. My house had been broken in without success a lot of times already by this time. So my father thought it was a thief or some suspicious person, but he found nothing, and it would be impossible for him to jump the high wall by the end that was 6 meters up, and both other sides had 2 stories, houses as big as the wall by the end. So in the end, they dismissed it as child imagination and proceeded to go move the bikes, but now asking us to watch TV instead of looking by the windows. But we both saw this little guy in the hats and described the exact same thing. As much that today my sister has a bizarre phobia of short people and gnome and elf images, figures, etc. At the point that even today, while almost 20 years old, she starts to cry in despair while watching Snow White and the 7 Dwarfs on a way anyone who saw the scene would say she was watching some kind of twisted crossover of Saw and Human Centipede horror movie instead, and feels uneasy next to garden statues of them, or if next to these creepy gnome statues they seal as furniture in some places. Like me, the one my grandmother had in her house sitting on a table. One time when she was 15 or something, I made her cry in the middle of a shopping when she saw a little door supposedly out of place, maintenance door, and asked me what that was, and I said it was a door made by the gnomes to mess with her, and for my surprise, she started to cry in the middle of shopping. So whatever we saw that day caused a huge impact on my sister to the point of creating a phobia, and for me, as I was already used to seeing weird shit out this house, I had saw many strange things out the house by the time that it was matter of like, oh, here goes another creepy thing. So it caused little impact on me, but nevertheless it was the first time I saw something that seemed physical instead of spiritual, if you know what I mean by that. Like a living being instead of apparitions.